Hello, hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have a set from I believe, the Playhem tournament. It was requested that I cast these. So this is going to be the round of 32 tournament. Let's go ahead and introduce these players. Up here in the top left-hand corner of this map, we have the green Zerg. His name is Grimm. And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right-hand corner as the pink Zerg. So we have a ZVZ on our hands. His name is Wuler. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, as I'm not sure if that's Wuler, Waller, or what I have no idea. But it is in fact a ZVZ on this map. I actually don't know too much about this map. Haven't really seen it a whole lot. But we do have a pretty normal looking natural right around here. Nice easy ramp and nice easy to defend natural. Although you have to remember there is this very wide choke over here at the natural going down toward basically the rest of the map. Now there is this nice little touch, the supply depot. It does kind of make the ramp a little bit more narrow. Could actually factor in a little bit, maybe toward the late game when we see a lot more roach play, but I don't think it's going to factor in too much as of right now. But speaking of right now, we do see the spawning pools going down at about the same time for both of these players, except Wuler actually deciding to grab that gas geyser at the exact same time. Meanwhile, Grimm kind of just investing that extra 25 gas and that 25 minerals, as well as that extra drone, just in getting an additional drone up. We can see over here that Grimm just leading slightly in that drone count, about 16 to 15 at this point in time. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, it's not a huge deal, like, whatever, it's just one drone. Well, even in these kind of situations, yeah, I might agree with you sometimes, but honestly, in a mirror matchup, one worker can make actually a huge difference, especially this early on in the game. But in the meanwhile, it looks like we are going to be seeing this green little Zerg drone making its way across the map, scouting as far as it can, and it looks like now he's finally going to see it out. He actually does, yeah, he does end up seeing that very important hatchery that it looks like Wuler decided to take, and that's really going to force a response out of Grimm, and it looks like that response is going to be a spine crawler, and looks like he's already investing in that roach horn, getting that gas geyser up, so we might be seeing some good old one base aggression. I'm really curious about this decision to make the spine crawler though. He has not really scouted too much from his opponent. Maybe I think it was just the fact that he scouted that there was in fact no roach warren down or anything of the sort, and you probably saw that there were no more drones mining gas. Did see these Zergling speed coming out, so might be expecting some kind of Zergling aggression. Unfortunately for Grimm, do not actually see that. It looks like as of right now he's just worrying about getting that economy up, and meanwhile Grimm deciding to do the same, does not want to fall behind. And it's not just the economy, but also just the larva production that those hatcheries are so important for. Now we do have two Zerglings out for Grimm. They're going to be playing a little bit of defense over here, maybe getting just ready to pick off any incoming scouting drones or even a scouting Zergling. Meanwhile, it looks like this Overlord is going to have a pretty nice time, I guess, scouting potentially in the future for the natural expansion. If he maybe just moved up a little bit, he would actually be able to see that the natural expansion has been taken. But unfortunately, as of right now, it does not see that. But it sees the very important, oh my god, it sees that there is in fact, it does see that there are in fact roaches already out for Grimm. That is actually a huge tell of what Grimm is up to. He knows there's not going to be some kind of big baneling aggression incoming anytime in the near future. He also sees that there are only two Zerglings, at least at the front as of right now, so Wuler might have a decent idea of what's going on, but I feel like these spine crawlers might be a little bit of an overreaction at this point in time, just due to the fact that he does not know that much about this natural expansion that has been taken. Anyways, with the creep expanding, he will get wind of that natural expansion anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of a worry. But in the meanwhile, Wuler's just going to go ahead and use some Zerglings to put on a little bit of pressure. Now, Grimm does have the Overlords placed very nicely for that, so he does know that there are these Zerglings out, and that actually might even work into Wuler's advantage. If he can actually just force Grimm to make additional Roaches, additional Zerglings, additional Spine Crawlers, whatever, he can in fact just stop additional drones from being produced, and that's actually a really nice tactic. Just sending your units across the map can really scare a Zerg opponent, and it's really great to see that Wuler is making use of that. Anyways, we do see Grimm's good old Overlord spotting the 3 Spinecrawler defense. Clearly does not want to be attacked anytime in the near future, so Wuler playing very, very defensive in this situation. It does seem like he just wants to get up that good old drone count. We see even 5 drones on the way about to pop, and actually all 4 of his gas geysers taken, so we are going to be seeing some kind of big tech play coming out of Wuler in the near future, probably right after this layer does finish up. Potentially might be seeing some Mutalisk. I think that would actually be a very apt choice for the early gases that he did end up taking, and he's already starting to mine from both of those gas geysers, so wow, he's going to have a huge influx of gas. On the other hand, it looks like Grimm does not really have either of these 2 gas geysers, only now getting his 2nd gas geyser, so he's going to be very far behind in this terms of tech. But where he doesn't have that tech, he's definitely going to have a good army. He's already sitting up at about 11 Roaches, and those Roaches are actually being utilized pretty well. They are pushing back Wuler's Zerglings just a little bit. We're going to have to go ahead and see if he is going to move out across the map, as that could pose a bit of a threat over to Wuler, and Wuler knows it. Oh my god, that is so many Spine Crawlers. Geez, now we're going to be up to 7 Spine Crawlers. Is he going to cancel these? I feel like this might actually be a little bit of an overreaction. I know that Wuler does not exactly have a Roach Warren just now actually getting it, and there is the Spire I was talking about. And even though that won't be done for a while, I still feel like he might be able to hold off with maybe just 1 or 2 less Spine Crawlers and just a handful of Zerglings. But looks like Wuler just wants to be extra cautious. Meanwhile, at the same time, I will just note that the Evolution Chamber is already finished. Spore Crawlers are already up. So Grimm has a pretty good idea about this, just based on the gas that he did scout. So even though he does not know about the actual Spire itself and where it is exactly at, he does have a pretty good idea about what his opponent could be up to with that large gas count. You know, it looks like the Roaches just poking up the 3rd, making sure that that 3rd was not in fact taking it. Oh my god, Spine Crawlers decimating those Roaches. Those Roaches say, get the hell out of here. I don't want to be here for very long. Jeez, that was actually a massive amount of damage. Roaches actually have a lot of health, so I'm really surprised he almost killed 2 Roaches with just that flurry of giraffe attacks from the Spine Crawlers. But we do have to worry for a little bit for Grimm, as 13 Mutalisks are about to pop out. He does have these 2 Spore Crawlers over here in his main. He does not have, oh, actually it looks like he has just 1 over here at the natural. So I think some good damage still could be done if Grimm is not prepared. Fortunately for him, Lair Tech is finished. He will be able to throw down a Hydralisk Den if need be, or an Infestation Pit. But we're going to have to wait and see if that is going to be what he decides to do. And it looks like 2 additional Spore Crawlers going down in the main. A very curious decision. He's actually just throwing down additional Spore Crawlers in the main. Looks like he doesn't want to lose that tech. Now does have an additional Spore Crawler going down at the natural. But I was a little bit worried that he wasn't going to be throwing down those Spore Crawlers at the natural. That could have actually caused him a lot of damage if he did get all that mining shut down by these Mutalisks. This is quite a few Mutalisks. You know, sometimes you do see players just kind of building a couple of Mutalisks, just saying, hey, I'm going to force a reaction out of you. I'm going to force you to maybe build some Spore Crawlers, get additional Queens, potentially even force you to overreact and build some Hydralisks. But this is actually not that kind of situation where you just make a couple of Mutalisks. He's actually making a pretty substantial number of Mutalisks, and he's going to come in here. He's going to be able to pick off the Spore Crawler, and this is exactly what I was afraid of. Wuler actually being able to just have enough Mutalisks and some good micro, by the way, to really just be able to move around the Spore Crawlers, pick them off if needed be, because Grimm just doesn't have the Spore Crawler count over at his natural. And now it looks like Wuler doing not the greatest control, does have a couple of Mutalisks getting lost, and oh no, he's actually letting the Mutalisks kind of drop pretty substantially when we go ahead and look at the workers killed. There's already 12 workers killed, but wow, actually I completely did not notice Grimm getting Mulas of his own up just in time, and now with the higher Mulas count and less Mulas in the red, he's going to be able to fend off that Mulas aggression from Wuler. So very well done by Grimm getting up that nice Mulas count. But has the damage already been done? We do see Grimm down about 8 or so workers, so he is going to be in a little bit of a rough spot, especially if he allows Wuler to take this third expansion uncontested. So we're going to have to wait and see. Also, you have to remember, Wuler did end up getting that Spire finished up before Grimm, so he did have the opportunity to get that +1 air weapon. So that is going to allow his Mulas to be a bit more superior to Grimm's Mulas, and really in a one-on-one battle, that's going to be very important to remember. Now, we don't see any kind of other tech coming out of either of these players. We don't see any kind of infestation pit, either to get infestors to deal with the enemy Mulas, or to eventually make that Brood Lord transition that we sometimes see in the Zerg versus Zerg matchup. So instead, both these players just kind of building up that economy, actually trying to do a little bit of harass, but Grimm getting deflected, especially by those +1 air weapon Mutalis, as they can really do a lot of damage, especially with that Glaive Worm. Now, I've actually heard both sides of the story quite a few times, so I'm not 100% sure about this anymore. But I do believe that the Glaive Worm, the bouncing attack from the Mutalis do benefit from the +1 air weapons. Now, I'm not entirely sure about that. You'd have to go double check, but either way, still having +1 air weapons is very useful, especially in that kind of very, very mirror matchup-esque style fight where both of the players have the same unit composition. And there we see a huge influx of Zerglings trying to do as much damage as possible. They might be able to get a cancel on the third, as it looks like it's getting target fired down, but no, they realize he's losing too many Zerglings. I'm not sure that was worth it at all. In fact, I know that wasn't worth it. You can see we had 3 control groups of Zerglings over here, but look at how many have just been killed off. That definitely was not worth it. So Wuler taking a substantial amount of losses with really nothing to show for it. He wanted to get the cancel off on that third, but then it looks like he realized a little bit too late that there were just too many roaches, too many mules, too many enemy Zerglings to really do the damage that he wanted to do at the cost it would take. So now it looks like Grimm's basically going to get off scot-free, have a slightly damaged hatchery, but honestly, it's a pretty good trade for Grimm. That might actually be exactly what he needed to catch up a little bit in this game. And it is going to force Wuler to produce some additional units that he would rather have as drones, but it is going to be very interesting to see if it's going to matter, as he just does have such an amazing Mulas count. We can go ahead and take a look at the unit counting station. We see 19 to 28 Mutalis out on the map, so Grimm is really going to have a difficult time dealing with this. I mean, until he gets some additional Mutalis of his own, or even potentially just getting up an infestation pit could be very, very helpful. You can see how much these Mutalis tend to clump up whenever they start to target fire down one of these kind of overlords over here. See right here, you can imagine an infestor just getting a couple of fungal growths off on that Mutalis pack. Oh my god, it would just decimate the army of Wuler. You know, same thing going for Grimm. It would be nice to see. Oh, looks like Wuler is in fact getting those infestors out. Pathogen Gland's going to be finishing up pretty soon, so that will mean that Pathogen Gland's finishing up just a little bit before those infestors pop. Infestors will spawn with enough energy to lay down some fungal, so he could hit a very nice timing over here if he does decide to do that. Now it looks like Grimm trying to do a little bit of damage with his own Zerglings, but these Mutalis are actually going to be able to rip through those Zerglings with their +1 air weapons, or actually +2 air weapons now, and really that's just going to do a massive amount of damage to Zerglings, as those Glaive Worms will just be able to do an insane amount of bounces amongst that massive number of Zerglings, especially since they do not have any additional armor beyond just the +1 armor that was researched. Now, anyways, it does look like Grimm really just stuck on that Mutalis tech. I'm really curious to see what he's going to end up doing. He does have a good number of roaches. That is something that Wuler is kind of lacking. And he also does have a pretty decent Mutalis count, is starting to catch up a little bit in those air upgrades. +2 air weapons is going to be finishing up relatively soon. But is it going to be enough? I have to wonder. He is actually not even really fully mining out of all of his gas caches, and that could actually be very hurtful. As we can see, he is lacking a little bit in that gas count. Gas, a very, very important resource late game ZVZ. Now, we have seen quite a few Zergling attacks throughout this game, and really this is just another one of them where Wuler's doing a great job checking to see when is the fourth going to be taken. Can I take a fourth of my own? Maybe I should just continue to tech if my opponent decides to try and invest in a fourth. Maybe I should just try and do some damage, but looks like, oh, actually, wow, great job by Grimm, actually catching a bunch of those Zerglings completely off guard. They were on patrol, but it looks like it did not end up paying off, even though Wuler was getting some good scouting information. Looks like Grimm able to cut off the, basically retreat path for the Zerglings, and really that's actually a pretty big loss to Wuler, as he is going to have to spend a lot of larva that he might be wanting to save up for future attacks, but no. Looks like in the larva count, Wuler's doing pretty gosh darn well. It does have about 14 larva, has an nearly maxed army, just a little bit short of it. And Grimm actually throwing away a little bit of supply. At this point in time, he might actually just be intentionally giving up a little bit of that supply, as he might want to be investing that in some other things. But no, as of right now, looks like he's not actually that close to max. He still has a good 30 supply to go, so a very curious decision indeed. And, oh my god, Grimm just stacking on the Mutals. Actually looks a lot like how Wuler was going earlier on in this game, but I'm not sure it's going to pay off with that massive number of infestors that are out for Wuler. He does have a good 10 infestors, so that's going to be quite a few fungal growths, plenty to do a large amount of damage to the Mutalist flock of Grimm. Now, Grimm just really does not have anything of the sort. He does not have an infestation, but he is not starting to tech to hive. He doesn't have any Hydralisk, and I think he's going to have a very difficult time dealing with this large infestor pack, as in addition to this large Mutalist count. And here we're going to see, looks like Wuler is going to be out for blood. He's tired with this game. ZVZs don't tend to go this long oftentimes, so it looks like Wuler just wants it to be done with. So here we do see a couple of infestors throwing down some fungal growths. They are going to be landing some good fungal growths on the roaches, but we're waiting on the money and fungal growths down on the Mutals, and there it is. We can see all the Mutals of Grimm. They're looking very, very grim in this situation. They're all in the red. I don't even know if there are that many left at this point, and it looks like most of the army of Grimm has been cleaned up at this point. Still a massive number of Mutals left over, and there is the good game from Grimm. GG! Very well played by both of these players. Now remember, this is a round of 32 tournament. I actually do not have the name of the tournament on hand. I'll have to go ahead and ask the tournament organizer for that. But yeah, I am going to be releasing additional replays, or casts of these games from this tournament. So please stay tuned. If you like my videos or my casts, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel. That's right exactly where you are. You really just can't be watching this anywhere else. But if you also enjoy my casting, I do some live casting as well, so you can go ahead and subscribe to twitch.tv/FearDragon64 and subscribe to me on Twitter at twitter.com/FearDragon64. This has been Fear Dragon, and I'm signing out. Later, guys.